IVM.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition, episode 19 of The Fighting GOAT. My name is Arjun, aka Mystic Chips, and with my buddy Somesh, the Superhuman Kamra.
Woohoo!
Are you ready to talk about?
Well, 4th of July just passed by. We had
Yes.
a week off.
America, I hope you had a great time. 4th of July, Independence.
Well, Biden, all the best to you. But that takes us to what's coming up in the following week, Mystic Chips. UFC
man.
264, the trilogy.
This
The
has
fight
been-
that we all have been waiting for. T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas, Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. And this is not even a title fight, but it feels
It's-
like a mega title fight.
Dude, when Conor walks out, you can see, when Conor was being groomed to become the champion, you
Yeah.
could see he was one of the few fighters because of his aura, his enigma, because of his ability to pull a crowd.
Yeah.
He was given main event walkout status. So
Man.
basically, the lights would be down, the smoke would come on, Sinead O'Connor would be on the microphone, singing aloud, and then he would walk out to Biggie, 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 can't you see? Notorious B.I.G. in the
Well,
air.
for the first time ever, I feel a title challenger versus Khabib has got the status and the respect of someone who's actually a champion. So, taking no pricks away from him, the guy has gotten enough money for the UFC. He's made enough money for himself, and he definitely deserves this spot. But-
Absolutely. I think he's one of the highest paid fighters in the history of the UFC.
Well,
I
I
mean, if
think
you-
I think he's one of the highest paid athletes in the world at the moment. Maybe he's on rank
Yeah.
number, I don't know, 2 or 3, but he's definitely in the top 3.
He's definitely in the top 5 for sure. I mean, and
Yeah.
when you look at the like all the fighters who've gotten really paid in the UFC, like you think of guys like GSP, Silva,
John Jones and
but
stuff.
nobody can ever know how much Brock Lesnar really got paid because everybody says Conor makes the most, but I think I would dispute it. Brock Lesnar has definitely made a lot of money.
Well, Brock
He
Lesnar
might
had
not
his
have made
time.
a lot in the purse. He might not have made a lot in the purse,
Yeah.
but come on, he pulled 1.5 million pay-per-view buys in 2010.
Absolutely.
That goes to
absolutely.
show
That was a wonderful moment. But guys,
what numbers he must have made back then.
looking forward to the next event, which is 11th of July,
Oh, 11th of
This
July,
Sunday.
airing in India. 11th of
airing in
July.
India, 11th of
Hmm.
July at 7:30 a.m. only on the Sony Sports Network. We have the trilogy, the main event of the evening, Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor in the lightweight division.
Yeah, but we're
However-
going to talk about that later. It's
Yeah,
too
we
early.
can talk
We've
about
still
that
got a
later.
lot to talk about first.
But what's surprising me about this card, Chips, is
Hmm.
the fact that the prelims has fighters like Carlos Condit versus
man.
Max Griffin,
Jesus.
which I feel is definitely worth the main card. There's Nico Price and Michael Pereira. So both these fights in the welterweight division, I felt can make it to the main card. And in the pre-prelims, which is before the prelims, we
I
have
think Facebook fights.
Jennifer Maia versus Jessica Ai.
Jennifer Maia just lost to Valentina Shevchenko. She was the main event. I mean, she was on the main card.
Man, that's the biggest demotion I've seen in the UFC.
It's it is how it is. But the thing is, when you're on a corner card, there are so many fighters who want to be in that main card
Right,
and in the
right.
preliminary card. And the fact is, I mean, according to me, to put Carlos Condit on an undercard is criminal already.
I mean, he definitely puts on a
it's-
show, man. Come on.
Dude,
you
he
know?
was a perennial title challenger. He almost
Yeah.
dethroned GSP.
He did.
He had some wars in that welterweight. I mean, that the fight with Robbie Lawler.
It's an unforgettable
man.
one. It's definitely in the top 100 fights ever to have happened
Greatest
in the sports of mixed martial arts.
greatest brawls ever. If you watch that fight and you're not a fan, you should leave
Yeah.
forever.
Or just become a fan.
Or just become a fan. Simple. You will. I mean, it has to be there. If there's even a little bit of fight blood in you, then you will be a fan.
Absolutely. We
So
also have
Carlos-
Ryan Hall. We also have Ryan Hall in the
Ryan
featherweight
Hall,
division who's
man.
coming in that prelim card. Sometimes I feel it's so unfair to these fighters because these guys are pretty much for us. I mean, they are great
Yeah.
fighters, but at some level, you need to be flashy, you need to be marketable, you need to earn the bucks, you need to
Especially
make the
on a
bucks for the
corner
company.
card, man.
I just think the sport is moving so quickly that fighters that cannot keep up, who don't have the entire formula correct, a correct
Right.
management, a correct fight camp, a correct attitude, I just feel they get left behind really too quickly. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I just think it's slightly unfair for the sport to move so quickly that some potentials get left out of the picture.
See, you know what? You're 50-50. You're not wrong, but you're not right as well. Okay. I agree with you because, look, at the same time, I'll give you best example. We had guys like Carlos Condit who weren't real natural marketeers.
Yeah.
They weren't. But because of their fighting style, him, Robbie Lawler, Rory McDonald, all these guys, that raw fighting style is what drew the people to them. And they became draws over the years. Right. I think now we've talked about this so many times where fighting has taken on such a methodical approach. It's become such a thinking man's game. It's become an athlete's game. You got highly talented, superior guys like Leon Edwards, breaking down fighters. But the highlight of that fight with Leon was when Nate tagged him in the last 30 seconds.
Oh, man.
And that's the difference between the old guard and the new guard. Yeah, when Nate may not pull in 1.5 million pay-per-view buys, but as sure as hell, he will do great numbers. Now, next, anybody will know if Nate is fighting, shit, I'll buy that fight. I don't care. I'll buy that fight for those last 30 seconds.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. But in fact, on the flip side, there are people that,
your favorite fighter's fighting, man. Sean O'Malley. I mean, he's got it all. He's got the style. He's got the attitude. He calls out the right thing. I can't even get through it. Okay, you know what? A lot of people have messaged us saying that, I don't know, there's, for all the love that we show a lot of people, why do you not have that kind of love for Sugar Sean O'Malley?
Well,
you had to be asked, dude.
Well, there are some fighters that are not my favorite all the time. And I personally feel they get, hyped up slightly unnecessarily. But
do you want a minute? Because these are like the questions, that you ask Miss America. Like you want to get it just right. So as to not hurt anybody's sentiments.
Well, yeah, these things happen. I mean, I'm a decent enough fan of him. I just feel he's being pushed a little too quickly. Skill-wise, I don't see him.
Do you compare him to Sage Northcutt somewhere?
So, in fact, I was going to mention Sage Northcutt, someone who was in the UFC, perfect golden boy, the golden child of, Dana White, six-pack, looks
looked like good. A superhero. He looked like those old He-Man toys we had, remember?
Yeah, more like Tiger Shroff here in India, six-pack, good-looking, no pimples, no marks, nothing of that sort, But at the end of the day,
there's the occasional back knee.
Yeah, when you step into the octagon, I feel you need to fight out there. And Sage Northcutt obviously didn't have it in him to compete at that level. Sugar Sean O'Malley, yes, he definitely has it in him, but I feel he's being fast-tracked a little too early. We saw that versus the Chito Vera fight where he was stopped.
True.
And, but what really bothers me is the fact that mentally he still thinks he's undefeated.
I think that is what troubles you. There's good to it's there are kinds of fighters, that have blind confidence. I never lost.
Correct.
I never lost.
Correct.
And then that can work in your benefit because if you think like that, then you can be unstoppable as well. But at the same time, it can also be detrimental.
The reason.
Clearly, it's on his mind.
Yes, exactly. In fact, the reason why I admire fighters like Conor is because he knows when he's lost. He knows how to acknowledge the fact that, yes, I lost, and he even pinpoints. He says, yes, I was not efficient. My gas tank was not good.
True.
Even though he's a very marketable figure and he mentally thinks he's unbeaten. There was, there was a press conference where I think, he mentioned that he was or he is a champion in all weight divisions. And Tyron Woodley was sitting next to him. And Tyron Woodley said, I think he means the featherweight or the lightweight. And Conor looked at him and said, no, I meant all weight divisions. That's the kind of confidence that he has. But when he loses,
ridiculous confidence. That's a shtick. It's like it's the same thing.
Imagine if Francis Ngannou was sitting next to him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he wants to screw with Francis. No, he don't do that. But the thing is that it's that blinding confidence. I mean, when you speak about the masters of blinding confidence, you can't think beyond Chael Sonnen.
Yeah,
Chael Sonnen's rubbish it's not rubbish, it's just genius.
Yeah.
It's just genius level of something.
Insanity.
I can't put a pin on it. It's just, but at least Connor started this entire, he called out the round, he called out the way he's going to do things.
Yeah.
And then he started becoming the Mystic Mac.
But what gets me to the point of the first fight of the evening in UFC 264, Sean O'Malley, who was supposed to face Smolka.
Yes.
And
sadly, why did Smolka pull out, man?
So Smolka has pulled out due to an undisclosed injury on, I think, the 29th or the 30th of June, which is just a few days back. And he's been replaced by a newcomer in the promotion, Chris Motino.
Man, I got to say something. I love it when the UFC fast tracks somebody up a ladder. Because, look, for a newcomer, Sean O'Malley can be a handful.
Yeah.
Definitely.
For sure.
But on the same hand, these Brazilian guys, they come in there to break anybody.
Absolutely.
They have no issues, squaring off with the best of the best. I guarantee one thing, Motino he might have a tall order in front of him, but he's going to bring it.
Yeah. Yeah. Motino, I think, is from Mexico, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, my mistake. Sorry. My mistake.
I think he's from Mexico. Even though he's born and brought up in the US, he's Mexican by blood, and we saw, what someone like Brandon Moreno can do out there. So, it's great to see this guy fast track. I would love to see him there. He's 28 years old, young guy, has won his last 2 fights. So let's see what he brings up to the show.
Yep, that's going to be a good one. And, just before we get on to the rest of the main card, I just want to, talk about Michael Pereira and Nico Price. What a fight. I'm surprised it's on the undercard.
Me too. I mean, I can't fathom the fact that Carlos Condit and Max Griffin is also on the undercard.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I can understand Carlos Condit not being, because he's had his share of,
But, he always brings the fight. Like, imagine if the card started off with Carlos Condit and Max Griffin. I would love that. Yeah. That would be a banger.
It is. You know what? Unfortunately, we don't make these decisions. So
yeah, absolutely. Like precisely why I made the point of, do you think the sport is moving so quickly that some of the good talent or some of the past talent cannot cope up with it?
It's true. I mean, Carlos has been around for a while. He retired in the middle for a few years.
Yeah,
came back and he tried his luck again. And the thing is that the sport has evolved tremendously. It's like any sport, man. I mean, you look at basketball 5 years ago versus what basketball is today.
Right.
It's the training methods. It's the talent pool. And these are athletes coming into the sport now.
Correct.
That's a big difference. But then from places like Mexico, from places like Brazil, you're seeing a lot of good fighters come in as well. Like you're seeing some hardcore old school guys, Davison Figueiredo, Brandon Moreno.
Right.
These guys are still old school animals.
Right. Absolutely.
So we're seeing a lot of that happen as of now. I think there's a balance. But yes, you're right. I mean, the sport is growing very, very quickly. Very quickly. Maybe too quickly. So you have to literally, but guys like Nate Diaz have proven that it doesn't matter how fast the sport is growing. Absolutely. I can still knock you out.
Exactly. There was a time in cricket where, with all the youngsters, Ashish Nehra was still bowling and he turned out to be very, very effective.
He was, man. I mean, along with the Srinaths and the Venkatesh Prasads, when Agarkar came onto the field, he had a good streak, man. He was lucky for a while. Then Australia tour of India with Jadeja just nicking the ball behind the legs for 4 every 2 minutes, and Agarkar just disrupting the entire Australian team. I don't know what happened to Steve Waugh and Ricky Ponting that day.
Absolutely. For more of cricket, please log on to ivmpodcasts.com. Cricket Edges and Sledges, one of the best shows out here.
I think you're going to be on it, man. I'm going to tackle the football guys one of these days because I am the ultimate troll.
Yeah.
Ultimate troll. All the football guys hate me. They hate me.
Calf kick them.
Calf kick. Sabko calf kick.
Right.
But coming back to the main card, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have Sean O'Malley taking Chris Motino, the Mexican blood. I don't know how that's going to go. I just hope Chris
Motino, might have, if he has Brandon Moreno in his corner, it's going to be a good night.
Yeah, it's going to be a great night. However, I think it's going to be an easy walkover for Sean O'Malley because he's facing someone who's a newcomer. He was ready for an absolute killer like Luis Smolka. According to me, there's no easy opponent, but mentally at the back of your head, you always think that yes, this guy is new, he's coming in, I'm going to eat him over. But yeah, let's see how this goes. Congrats to both of the gentlemen and Chris Motino. Welcome to the UFC. And Chips, what about the women's bantamweight division? Iril Adana taking on Yana Kunitskaya.
Man, that should be a good fight.
It
man.
should be a great one.
Start. Both these women are tough. Both these women have been jockeying for position, and they finally get to throw down. And it's such a good thing that the UFC started including a female fight on the main card, regardless of how big or how small.
I think that's a very important aspect, because each pay-per-view, the UFC is promoting women's talent and they are on the main card. So kudos to them. I'm sure that there's a deep pool of talent out there waiting to show their talent. So, and this is the right place to do so.
Absolutely. We've got some heavyweights as well on the card, man. We've got Tai Tuivasa taking on, I've forgotten, who's he fighting?
Tai Tuivasa is fighting Greg Hardy. Yeah.
Greg Hardy, man. Greg Hardy is, I think, a former NFL player. He's a massive guy who also his skills are improving exponentially, I would say.
Yes.
Exponentially. He's getting better and better, and he's got a humble attitude at that.
Yeah. He's a damn calm and composed guy for someone who's in this division, who's not had the best of the career in the UFC, so he's kind of lost, he's won. His last fight was a loss versus Marcin Tybura, which was vicious, which was like a second round TKO, if I'm not mistaken. But that's not stopping him from becoming a better athlete, from going back to the gym and just grinding it out every single day in the sport that he loves so much. So honestly, I can't wait for this one. Tai Tuivasa, on the other hand, is an absolute replica of Mark Hunt. He comes out there. He comes out there with nothing to lose and he just throws down.
He's a big burly dude. He doesn't get, and he doesn't give a shit about the fact that he doesn't have a six-pack body. He doesn't look like Francis Ngannou. He doesn't look like Junior Dos Santos. He doesn't look like Overeem. He's a little heavy. But you know what? I don't care. Mark Hunt looked like whatever, but he had some ridiculous stopping power. And so does Tai Tuivasa. He can put your lights out.
Absolutely. In fact, he had this fight versus Stefan Struve, the one that actually led him to retire. It was a round 1 knockout. And man, this actually happened in 2020, just last year. And the knockout of Stefan Struve just reminded me so much of what Mark Hunt's knockouts were like. That was
Mark Hunt's knockout of Stefan Struve was the first ever walking away hook. He cracked him with that left, dropped him, and just turned around and walked. That's all it was. It was incredible.
It was crazy. Like Tai Tuivasa, 11 wins, 3 losses, and his last 3 losses were, I think, just recently, like in 2018-19, he had his last 3 losses. He was unbeaten for a very long time, and he's on a 2-fight winning streak versus Stefan Struve and a gentleman called Harry Hunsucker. Both of them by knockout. I would love to see how he faces versus Greg Hardy.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, that takes us to the next one.
But before we hit the co-main and main, we gotta take a quick commercial break. So throw us into it, my friend.
Yes, we actually have a lot to speak about, but on this particular episode, we'll take a short break and we'll be back with a lot more masala on the Fighting GOAT episode 19, where we are breaking down UFC 264, the trilogy between Conor and Dustin Poirier. See you on the other side.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank the sponsors on the network this week, See-It, Cred, and Global Victoria. We thank you so much for making all of this possible. So this week on Cyrus Says, Tapsi Pannu was recently featured in the Netflix original Haseen Dilruba was on. They discussed her experiences in Bollywood and a whole lot more. On Begin the Journey, Ashish Vidyarthi enlightens us with his wisdom on how one can get freedom from their own thoughts or insecurities when they communicate with others. On The Millennial Athlete, Tanvi and Shlok fill us in on all the drama from the world of sports with Wimbledon, Euros, and World Test cricket making headlines every day. On Postcards from Nowhere, Utsav Mamoria kicks off a new series, Beneath the Veneer. We travel to the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, where he takes us through his first experience of encountering the Red Sea. We have a brand new show, Misconduct. It's a true crime show hosted by Ragvi, a lawyer, and Nisha, a PR pro. They tell us about the story of Cyanide Malika, the lady who offered cyanide-laden sweets to women and after they died, loot their gold. On the Global Victoria Tech Talks podcast, we showcase some compelling new tech stories coming out of Melbourne. On one episode, Pawan Srinath speaks to Joe Agan from Nelnet International, where they discuss how the pandemic has affected the edtech sector and its evolution. Another episode has Varun Digirala talking to Ross Simons from Big Ant Studios about the gaming ecosystem and how they envision translating a sport to a game. And with that, let me get you back to your show.
Welcome back to The Fighting GOAT. My name is Arjun, aka Mystic Chip. You've been listening to us along with the Superhuman Kamra. We've been breaking down UFC 264 for you. We've talked about the undercard. We've talked about, the start of the main card, but we've left the meat and masala there. It's coming together now because we've got Gilbert Burns taking on Wonder Boy Stephen Thompson in that welterweight division, man.
I cannot wait for this one.
Dude, it's
Chips,
going to
tell me
be
one
so
thing.
much
Are we watching this event together?
We should, man. We should. We totally should. I mean, it's at what? 7:30 in the morning.
It's
That's
at
a
7:30
decent
in the morning.
hour. I mean, I can start
Only
drinking
on
at
Sony
7.
Sports. It's only on Sony Sports India Network.
And I think now we're going to start getting sponsored by Booze brands.
Yeah.
So that's like a direct plug-in right there. I can just put a bottle of whoever's hearing this. Please remember, I like Corona. I like Asahi.
What do you like, Corona? As in like Corona?
The beer. That's ironically the first thing they put out as the campaign saying, Corona, the beer, not the virus. But yeah, we should watch it together. We should, because the kind of fight we have coming up is such a technical war, has the potential to be such a technical war, because Burns is this insane, powerful, crazy slugger wrestler.
Right.
With some sick hands. And we've got Wonderboy Thompson, who stands at he's literally sideways. It's that Taekwondo karate stance. Man, he will just hop in and out. And most people use jabs as a rangefinder, whereas Wonderboy uses kicks as a rangefinder.
Man, that's such a specialty of this karate taekwondo guys. We saw it with GSP also. GSP, who has this karate taekwondo background, could just get his range in the first minute and a half of the fight. When most fighters take like an entire round to get the range.
Yeah,
these guys move in and out. The lateral movement is so swift that it's not only difficult to catch them, but at times you're actually afraid of the counter that's coming in, because someone like a Machida, someone like a Wonderboy Thompson can actually move left or right and just counter you with that left and right. It's crazy.
It's the way they move, and guys like Machida used to combine his sumo style. So he would push guys off when they got too close.
Yeah.
And he would cut laterally. Not only was he able to dart in and out, hop in and out of range whenever he wanted, but he would dart laterally and come in with some crazy ass angles. And we saw the same thing with Wonderboy. Before you hit him in one place, he's already somewhere else and he's hitting you.
Absolutely. In fact, such wonderful statistics in front of us. Gilbert Burns, I think after a 6 or 7 fight win streak, the last fight that he has was versus Usman, the one that he lost.
Oh man, that was a bad fight for Gilbert.
But the fights before that versus Tyron Woodley and Damien Maya were the performance of the night. It just shows what he brings on the table.
That's true.
Wonderboy Thompson, on the other hand, is on a 2-fight winning streak versus Jeff Neal and Vicente Luque, and both of those also had bonuses. The Vicente Luque fight was the fight of the night, and the Jeff Neal fight was the performance of the night. So, man, I cannot wait what these two gentlemen are going to bring on the table. However,
Vicente was such a tough fight. I mean,
Vicente
is also one of those wild strikers, with lots of power.
Man, Luque is a crazy guy.
And we saw how well Wonderboy faced that. We saw how well he countered those moves. But yes, it was a war, no doubt. But do you think somewhere, like, Wonderboy in the past never used to get hit? I mean, the only guy who actually hit him was Woodley and almost finished him after a barrage. And props to Wonderboy. He took that beating. But we talk about the sport evolving, and Gilbert Burns is the next generation.
Absolutely.
Do you see somebody like Gilbert Burns' power being a huge issue for Wonderboy?
So, that's a very good question, because I've been asked that question earlier. I think Wonderboy Thompson could dodge Burns. I just do not know how Wonderboy Thompson would react or act once he's taken off his back, because Gilbert Burns on the ground is an absolute monster. His ground and pound is vicious because he doesn't only punch you, he also elbows you on your face. So it will be very interesting to see how Wonderboy Thompson deals with this on the ground once he's taken down.
I think Wonderboy doesn't get taken down, to be honest. I think Gilbert Burns has to tag him badly to take him down. Even Woodley couldn't take him down, if you remember.
Sure, yeah.
And it's only after the strikes. It's only after this. Yeah, I agreed. He's 38, but we saw his training videos, man. He's still moving like a 28-year-old. He's in great shape. He's fit. And I think the overall age for these guys, the guys that haven't taken too much damage, are kind of surviving. But I mean, he's been through those wars in the past, and you never know what his state is, because Gilbert Burns is young and he can still strike. But it takes one well-timed counter from Wonderboy, where Wonderboy can, a lot of these karate point fighters also use the momentum of their fighters against them. So if Gilbert Burns comes in wading forward with complete power, then it's going to be funny. It's going to be fun. Sorry.
Right.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Well, I absolutely agree. But do you remember that counter of Anthony Pettis that knocked out Wonderboy Thompson out cold?
Dude, that was just something. That was an anomaly. He bounced off the cage with a Superman punch and knocked him out clean.
So when you speak about someone coming in and Wonderboy Thompson countering, I'm so sad to see that actually happened to Wonderboy. Wonderboy's technique was actually used against him, and that was so sad. But at the same time, Chips, I was thinking about this fight. Sometimes when you have two juggernaut fighters in the welterweight division who are coming out there, who've had performance of the night, fight of the night, bonuses, this, that. Do you think sometimes they get a little too cautious with each other and the fight is not exciting? I mean, could that be the third possibility here?
Dude, we've seen that. We've seen that with Romero versus Izzy. I mean, Israel Adesanya and Yoel Romero was touted as this incredible banger, that it's going to be a war for the ages. And what did it turn out? It turned out to be a staring contest between two dudes.
Absolutely.
And some leg kicks here and there.
Yeah.
The media and the world criticized them both for it. So it's, Wonderboy has been criticized in the past for being a point fighter. But I think when somebody brings the fight to Wonderboy, that's when it becomes interesting. And you've got to be willing to get into that pocket with him, because Wonderboy will not like being rushed.
Right. So what you're trying to say is that Gilbert Burns needs to get the fight to him. Yes. And that's when it'll be exciting if they just stand in the pocket and they just kind of weigh each other down.
Because if he lets him stay, it's going to
be like a staring fest.
Because the thing is, if Gilbert can't get into Wonderboy's range, Stephen Thompson is more than happy to win on points. He will just circle around him and beat him up from a distance.
Right. So you're saying that strategy could be that Gilbert Burns kind of closes the distance, gets him to the ground, and
has to make it dirty.
What he does best.
Has to make it dirty. Has to make the fight gritty.
He has to use his BJJ black belt.
Correct. Use all the throws, his trips, his takedowns, his and just really rough it up. Make it a dirty fight.
Man, but that makes it so interesting, because the moment Gilbert Burns comes close, he's going to get tagged. So Gilbert Burns, in order to get to his fight game, is going to get hurt for sure.
That's the thing. That's what remains to be seen. Does Wonderboy have that one-shot power where he can just catch him and drop him coming in?
Right. Nice.
Who knows,
we would love to hear.
No, predictions are later. Predictions are after in the end of the show. But
right. But we would love to hear from the fans, from all the people listening out there. We would love to hear from you. What do you guys think about Gilbert Burns, Wonderboy Thompson, and all the other wonderful fights that are on the card of UFC 264?
That's if you all want to win. If you want to win merchandise and magnets.
Well, even if you don't want to win, you can just tag us, hashtag us, speak to us. We would be more than happy to interact with all of you on Arjun Chipalkatti's Twitter account, Instagram account, my Twitter account, my Instagram account, and also on all platforms on IVM Podcasts. Chips, oh man, you know what? I'm actually already sweating here. I need to stop having this hot coffee, because this position right now is what I'm going to say is... Yeah,
I've started drinking. It's a corner.
Don't you have a shoot now? Don't you have a shoot coming up?
I have a shoot, but it's in 2 days. So it's okay. I can drink today. It's no problem.
Well, having said that, we've covered most of the fights except for the main event of the evening,
sir.
which is in the in the lightweight division, which is 155 pounds, the trilogy between Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor.
Dude, before we even get into that fight,
should there be more excitement in my voice? Like
no,
in the lightweight division, Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor.
I was just gonna do, and now. Yeah. This is the moment UFC fans from around the world have been waiting for. Time! That is, that's the energy that Bruce Buffer, when he says that, I don't know how, I was ready to I was jumping on my TV. Like shaking my TV. Come on, let's do this. Like going insane, man. Dude, you know it, man. That's man. Before we got our opportunities to be on television with Sony as analysts for The Ultimate Guide, and before we started doing our own podcast, we would sit in the morning and watch these fights. I would be drinking for 5 a.m. So by the time it reached 9:30 in the morning for the main event, I was like, Chalo.
Let's go.
Oh, man.
But yeah, so, in fact, both of these fighters had the opportunity to fight for the title, but they chose not to face the current champ, Charles Oliveira, and they said, let's settle the score first before we move on to something bigger. So, it's the fight business. Someone's going to win, someone's going to lose.
Let's not forget one major point. Fighting for the title, yes, it's a big honor. But when you fight Conor McGregor, it's red panty night. I mean, the money you make when you fight Conor is something else.
Well, he definitely knows that, and Dustin Poirier also knows that. So they definitely are going to be putting up a show. Both of them want to settle the bad blood because they fought for the first time in September 2014. It was UFC 178, but that was in the featherweight division, which means 145 pounds.
True.
Where Conor McGregor knocked Dustin Poirier out in the first round. The second fight was in Jan 2021, this year, UFC 257, where Dustin Poirier knocked out Conor McGregor in round 2. The trilogy is on 11th of July.
See, this is where it gets so interesting because we've been, you look at every major analyst around the world. You look at fighters who've been talking about it. And we've been talking about tendencies and we've been talking about how fighters move. Now, a lot of fighters have said, guys like Khabib Nurmagomedov, Daniel Cormier, George St. Pierre, George St. Pierre is actually saying that they're saying that Conor can win this for sure. And Conor is the most dangerous in round 1. 5 minutes.
Right.
Those first 5 minutes, he's the most dangerous in round 1. As the fight goes on, he gets slower. And Somesh, just take a second to dissect what happened in the last fight. In that last fight, you didn't see a Conor who was light on his feet. He was looking to go out there and make a statement with his hands. He wanted to go box with the Diamond Poirier.
Right.
And he didn't use his trademark. Conor McGregor has a tendency of throwing kicks. He's going to throw one to the body. You throw to the body, it opens up the hands. It opens up the head. You drop your hands to protect the kick. Then he goes upstairs with that left high kick and then looks. The same thing he did to Donald Cerrone. He hit him in the body, he hit him in the head, and then tagged him with that left hand. And we just didn't see that happen with Diamond.
Well, in fact, could that also mean that the Diamond had a perfect strategy in place because he noticed he was very heavy on his legs and he chose to take out the legs first before doing that beautiful handwork?
Exactly. But that's the thing. But Conor was not bouncing on his feet at all. He was very flat-footed, which is why those leg kicks hurt so much more.
Right.
Which is why he was pivoting off that front foot and Diamond's leg kicks are hardcore. Those calf kicks just chopped him up. And I think that's the change that Conor is going to make. I mean, he has to make that change.
Well, in fact, there were a lot of things spoken on the internet. One of them was obviously about the hairstyles because, Conor had hair in the first fight. Dustin Poirier was bald, so he lost. In the second fight, it was exactly the opposite. Where Conor was bald, Dustin Poirier had hair, so he won the fight. So honestly,
are both of them coming with hair now, or what?
So we'll see as to how this works because if both of them come with hair, then we'll see as to how this is going to play out. But Chips,
then we got to fight.
The other aspect of this is very, very shocking to me that I have realized that when Conor loses a fight, obviously his comeback versus the same opponent depends on how and when he wants it. So versus the first, like Nate Diaz fight, when he lost, he was so worked up. He was egoistic. He wanted to prove a point. He booked that fight again in 6 months. The same is going ahead with this particular fight. The first fight was obviously in 2014 and Conor clearly won. He never really wanted to fight Dustin Poirier. But when it came back 6 years later and he lost the fight in Jan 2021, he really wanted to avenge this loss. So is it something to do with the competitive spirit? Because,
oh yes,
to be really honest, in the Jan fight, Conor was a good guy. He came in there. He was like, he's my friend. I'll, donate to his charity. I'll sell some hot sauce and, we'll work together and stuff like that. But do you think the good Conor is going to make a comeback, or is it going to be the mean, bad Conor?
No, I want to see the rivalry. I think it already started heating up because there was some confusion about the money, and somebody not being clear about the money, where the money is going. And then Dustin Poirier put out a tweet saying that, he talked so much about giving 500 grand to my charity. He hasn't done it yet. And then Conor snapped back by saying, you didn't make it clear, and then he, of course, then the gali galoch began, saying you won't fucking do nothing, come this July, and all that shit started. So I think there is animosity, but there is also mutual respect. The kind of thing that we saw with Nate and Conor Nate too, where he was wary of what was happening. He knew this man had beaten him.
Yeah.
And in the rematch, Conor tends to be a lot more serious.
Well, as you keep saying that if someone faces John Jones, they are never the same fighter again. That also happens with Floyd Mayweather, because the moment Dustin and Conor were going at it on Twitter, Floyd Mayweather always had a tweet in there saying, listen, Dustin, $500,000 in your account, no questions asked. And he transferred the money. So does it also happen with people who have faced Conor who just don't recover from the entire trauma of this trash talk that he brings on the table?
I think it's just everybody piling onto that bandwagon of marketing. It's Conor's aura, Conor's energy. It's whatever he touches is gold.
Right.
So it's anybody wants to be around that stuff, Right. Because him putting out 500,000 means, he'll open the door for a rematch with Mayweather down the line.
Yeah.
Who knows, man? Who knows what these guys do?
I love these guys.
They're amazing. But at the end of the day, I think, Diamond has evolved so much as a fighter.
Yeah.
He's become he's made that 155-pound weight division his home. His weight cuts are perfect. He doesn't even breathe heavy anymore.
And he's huge. He's
big
at that weight,
And his boxing has become so sound.
Right.
I mean, he knocked out Justin Gaethje, man. I mean, Gaethje is so tough.
That was an eye-opener for me.
Yeah, but the thing is, here's the thing. He was hurt by Gaethje too.
Yes.
And that's the thing. I want to see Conor when Conor did not set it up right. Conor in all his past fights used the kicks so much.
Yeah.
He didn't throw one kick.
But, in fact, so I've been studying Conor for a while. So in that featherweight division, which is 145 pounds, he was much lighter. His spinning heel kicks used to come really well, especially versus Dennis Seaver. He broke that midsection just with his kicks.
Dude, Chad Mendes, man, the body kicks to Chad Mendes.
Those were crazy.
Those front kicks to the abdomen were insane.
You could hear that from like a couple of kilometers away. But the moment he's gone to the lightweight division, I just feel he's become a little bulky, he's become a little muscular. Maybe the movement has, kind of altered a little bit, where he's not, of course, he's much stronger, he's doing well, but he's not moving so freely.
That's a funny point you just made. I mean, that's a very accurate point you just made, because you see his training videos of late, he's looking lighter, he's looking leaner.
Yeah.
He's looking like he's going to bounce around a little bit.
Right.
And but the thing with Conor is he doesn't lose power.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing. He's as equally strong as featherweight as he is at welterweight.
Absolutely.
If not stronger. So that's the funny thing. So even if he loses weight, that left of his is a sniper. And if he times it with the kick at the right time, which I feel is going to happen. He's going to time him.
Well, is that a slight prediction coming through? I'm kind
of
sensing something coming.
I think I'm
sensing something.
We're coming to the point of predictions now. We have reached that, almost reached that time.
Absolutely.
So my friend,
so that was a fantastic discussion. But before we move on to the predictions, we'll need to take a short break.
Yes,
We're going to see you on the other side. But before that, We want to hear from you guys. What are your predictions for UFC 264? Don't forget to tag us, hashtag us on Arjun Chipalkatti's Insta ID, Twitter ID, on my Insta ID, Twitter ID, and on all channels on IVM Podcast. So we want to hear from you. But before that, we'll take a short break and see you on the other side with the predictions for UFC 264.
Namaskar, dear friends. My name is Ashish Vidyarthi. Life, as you know, is a journey. And you and I, travelers, how can we celebrate this travel? I have a podcast for you. Begin the journey. I share stories and moments from my life. Do tune in every Monday and Thursday to listen to my podcast on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcast from. Cheers.
Welcome back to The Fighting Goat. You're listening to Arjun, aka Mystic Chips, and the Superhuman Somesh Kamra. We've had a great discussion so far about the awesome card that's coming up, UFC 264, the Juggernaut, and it's finally here. And we've got, but now, my friend, it's down to the crystal ball time. By the way, if you're not keeping score, we're still 5-1. Team Chips, Team Kamra, but we said, let it be. Yeah, we're friends. I mean, for your mental sake, you were going into a depression after that point.
See, after this entire Corona episode, no one is going out of their houses. People are anyway sad. I'm anyway sad. Why do you want to make me even more sad? Yeah, come on. Thoda bacche pe rahe chalo yaar.
Bacche ki jaan mat le lo.
That game is over. That game is over. It never existed. It's it's out of my
mind.
Whoever
wants to remember. Isko yaad rakho.
I was the assistant director on Gajani, and I wish to be in that zone right now. I have forgotten what's happened.
And now, just like Gajani, the writing is literally on the wall now. Time. Shall we write down on our bodies? Kya likh raha hai abhi? Who's going to win? Corner hi jeetega, and all that.
Sugar Sean O'Malley.
Speaking of Sugar Sean, let's get this party started. Come on, it's prediction time.
Get down to the predictions time. Yeah,
we're starting off with Sugar Sean O'Malley.
Let's take the first fight, which is in the bantamweight division, 135 pounds. Sugar Sean O'Malley, one of my favorite fighters on the card.
Did he steal the nickname from Sugar Rashad Evans?
Could be. Kinda. So Sugar Sean O'Malley taking on Chris Mutino, the newcomer, the debutant in UFC bantamweight divisions. Mystic Chips, what is your prediction?
I think for a debutant, it's a tough one. Sugar Sean O'Malley, despite what my partner thinks of him, he still has some very sound skills. He's still a hell of a fighter, and I think he takes this easily.
Okay, so in this one, with a very heavy heart, I am going to go with Mystic Chips. I think Sugar Sean O'Malley takes this one.
Don't you wish that both of us are wrong on this one? Don't you wish?
Well, honestly, the original opponent was Luis Smolka, and I was game on Luis Smolka for this one. But there was a last-minute change. There's a newcomer. I wish I'm wrong, but all the coins, all the pins, everything points towards Sugar Sean O'Malley. So we are going to be going with that.
All right, Tai Tuivasa versus Tai Tuivasa. Who's gonna beat Tai Tuivasa versus Greg Hardy? Who's it gonna be?
Wow. Okay, that's a very, very interesting contest. If you ask me, I'm going to go with the football specialist Greg Hardy for this one.
I'm going to go with Greg Hardy as well. I think he's got the tools to do it, and he's going to make the changes and stop Tai Tuivasa.
Nice. That is excellent. So Team Chips, Team Kamra, pretty much in the same boat at the moment. But that, ladies and gentlemen, takes us to the main event of the evening in the welterweight division, which is 170 pounds, where the former title Gilbert Burns is taking on Wonder Boy Stephen Thompson.
Oh man, this is going to be a good one. We've discussed this in deep detail.
Yep.
I think Wonder Boy Thompson.
I want to see where this. Oh, yes. Okay, cool. That is excellent because Team Kamra is on the opposite side at the moment. I think Gilbert Burns is going to take him out in this one. Well, hopefully his hand gets raised. I think Gilbert Burns has the skill.
Let's see.
He has the power. He has all the strategy in place to take out the veteran Thompson. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
Okay, main event time, buddy.
That takes us now to the main event of the event.
Who's it going to be?
In the lightweight division, Dustin Poirier versus the juggernaut, notorious Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor versus round one, Conor McGregor.
Holy shit. No. Okay, that's just too much stress on me right now. There's just too much pressure on me right now. This is a little more than the graduation exam that I was giving at the moment. I'm going to be going with the Diamond Dustin Poirier for this one. Even the Conor McGregor is one of my favorite athletes on planet Earth. Practicality wise, I'm going to be going with the Diamond Dustin Poirier. So it's a very interesting pick.
He's going to do it. I just know it.
It is very, very interesting because honestly, he studies the opponent. He finishes them really quickly.
Exactly.
The weight, the bets, everything are on Conor McGregor, but I still feel Dustin Poirier is more matured. He has the heart. He obviously doesn't have as much money, so he's not relaxed. He's taking this very, very seriously.
True.
I'm very sure on my pick. I think it's the Diamond Dustin Poirier. So we are on opposite ends for the main event and the co-main event.
We will find out
but for
on
the
July
fight
11th,
and
my friend.
Yeah, for the bantamweight heavyweight division, the first two fights, we are on the same page. For the co-main event and the main event of the evening, we are on opposite sides. But for us to know more and for you guys to catch this live, you need to listen to us every Wednesday.
Yeah,
on the Fighting Goat.
Listen to us.
Please make predictions. Talk to us. Have fun.
Exactly. And guys, now you have to start following us. Okay, I'm going to repeat one more time. If you want to follow me and you want to argue with me and you want to start doing best with me, my name Arjun _Chipalkatti on Instagram and at Mystic Chipal on Twitter.
That's awesome. For me, if you don't want to argue with me or do anything, just simply see, I'm a peace-loving guy. So you can just talk to me. It is Somesh.Kamra on Instagram, Somesh _Kamra on Twitter. You have a chance to win some very exciting fridge magnets of the Fighting Goat. If you get the right predictions, we are giving out 5 fridge magnets this week for all those getting the predictions correct. They're going to be random picks because we normally have 20 to 30 right answers out there. We can't give fridge magnets to everyone because we don't have that much budget. We can only give them to 5 of you lucky winners.
Yes, sir.
You guys need to tag us, hashtag us, and listen to the Fighting Goat only on IVMPodcast.com and available across all networks.
Yes, sir.
Chips, that was an extremely fruitful episode. I got a lot of knowledge from you. I spoke what I had to. It was so much fun speaking about UFC 264. But we are going to be watching the event live only on Sony Sports on July 11th at 7:30 a.m. Guys, make your predictions before that because all predictions only before July 11th will be considered because you smart asses would be tagging it post July 11th also after seeing who the winner. So those are not accepted. Please do this for us. Get a chance to win some cool fridge magnets. Chips and me are going to be watching this event live. We'll be tweeting. Stay tuned and we will see you exactly same time, same place next week only on the Fighting Goat on IVMPodcast.com. Till next week, stay safe, get yourself vaccinated and be safe.
Do you know Tamil? Tamil Puriyuma? Do your children enjoy great stories that inculcate good values? Hi, I am Ravishankar Balachandran and I host the Storytime Tamil podcast. I am excited to share a short story with great moral values every day. Listen to Storytime Tamil on the IVM Podcast app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
2020 is a difficult year. A global pandemic, protests, elections, recessions, you get the picture. What we need is a space where we can have nuanced discussions about global affairs and foreign policy. That's where I come in. My name is Hamsini Hariharan and I host the States of Anarchy podcast. Every second Tuesday, I speak to experts in the field of international relations to make a little more sense of the world. So join me on the IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you're listening to me right now.